Okay. Let's take a break right here. We're going to take a break, and during which you should refresh your memory about how it is you get a document into evidence. She's getting her ass handed to her by this judge over and over again. When you're in federal court, judges don't put up with a whole lot of shit in federal court. So the judge tells her, you can't do that. They take a break, go look at the fucking rules of evidence, see what you're supposed to do, and then they come back, and what does she do? The exact same thing.
Alina, would you rather be smart or pretty? And I said, oh, easy. Pretty.
Why is that? Why would you rather be pretty than smart?
I can fake being smart. But
I meet him all the time.
Well, you know what? According to Judge Kaplan, she's not doing a good job of faking being smart.
Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. Who is he? Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. And who is he? Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. And what he do? And he's gonna react to all the self-snitching.
Hi, this is Bruce Rivers. Welcome to another fun-filled episode of Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I'm Bruce Rivers, your personal board-certified criminal defense lawyer. Now I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that, about being board-certified and why it's important. Because today we're talking about Alina Habba. Alina Habba. Alina Habba is Donald Trump's #1 trial lawyer in federal court in the E. Jean Carroll case. And, oh my God, you talk about getting your ass handed to you in federal court. We're going to get into this, and it's going to be kind of fun because there are some more stories we're going to talk about. Okay, but before we get to that, this is brought to you by eForms.com. eForms.com. eForms.com is a very effective way to avoid guys like me. For example, I'll tell you this is my grandmother. You know, she's kind of confined to her basement, and she's got this great entrepreneurial idea. She's doing an OnlyFans thing for bunions. It's only bunions online, but she's got a agreement she has to do with the bank. She's got to do agreement with her partner because her partner's got even worse bunions than she does. So she has to get these agreements. Guess what? She went to eForms.com and she got a business agreement done, and now she's making bank. But you can use it for any kind of document. You can use it for a power of attorney. It's just an excellent way to avoid lawyers. You know, a rental agreement, bill of sale. And these are agreements that you need if you're going to do any kind of transaction with another party, because it outlines the framework of the deal. And if you don't have that, and if it's just a word, a mouth deal, you don't have the proof that you have a deal. That's why you need eForms.com. All right. Now, let's talk about the former leader of the free world, Donald J. Trump. He's in trial right now with E. Jean Carroll. And it's all about damages because the liability has been assumed. Now it's just about damages. Now, when you're in federal court, judges don't put up with a whole lot of shit in federal court. So, for example, Donald Trump is heard, saying shit out loud in front of the jury. E. Jean Carroll's lawyers complained about it. And then the judge admonished Mr. Trump, saying, "Look, if you have the right to be here, you don't have the right to be disruptive here." And he said, "I'm sure you would love it if I kicked you out of here." And then Trump said something to the effect, "I sure would," or something like that. Very smart-assy thing to say to a federal judge. Realize that a federal judge can stop a corporation. It can stop a president from doing something. So a federal district court judge has a lot of power. And there's millions of dollars at stake here. And you're dealing with the former leader of the free world. You'd think he would have the best representation. Well, Joe Tacopino, who represented Donald Trump in the first trial last fall, he withdrew. And he also withdrew from the case in Manhattan, the criminal case. And he's a very accomplished trial lawyer. He knows what the hell he's doing. Fast forward to Alina Habba. Now, she's the managing partner of Habba and Medeo. So she's managing partner of her and somebody else. But let's just kind of go. She's been practicing, I think, maybe 12 years or so. But I guarantee you I bet you she doesn't have a single jury trial. If you look at her website, it doesn't say, I've got all this trial experience. We'll get to board certified in a second. But founding the firm, she served as the managing partner of a mid-sized firm that serves Fortress subsidiary, blah, blah, blah. Alina is licensed to practice in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, and the United States District Court for the District of New Jersey, and the United States District Court for the District of Connecticut, and the United States District Court for the District of Southern and Eastern Districts of New York, and the Supreme Court of the United States. You think she's ever argued anything in front of the Supreme Court? Doubt it. Prior to entering into private practice, she was a law clerk to Eugene Cody Jr. Alina's been selected to the 2016 to 2022 Super Lawyers Rising Stars. You know, I've been a super lawyer for, I don't know, probably about 15 years or so. And it's just, all it is advertising, to be honest with you. But she doesn't have any board certification. And let's see, practice areas. Business and commercial litigation, civil litigation, commercial real estate, family law, and personal injury. So when you have a firm that kind of has a hodgepodge of things, you can probably guess they're, just taking whatever comes in the door. So family law sucks, guys. Family law just sucks the bag. It really does, because you're dealing with custody issues. People whine like crazy. I've tried 3 divorce cases in my career. I will never, ever try another one, because they're just laden with bullshit. But what she doesn't have here is, any board certification or trial experience. And why is that important? I am board certified by the National Board of Trial Advocacy and by the Minnesota State Bar Association as a criminal trial specialist and a criminal law specialist. And that means you're tried, true, and tested. Tested as I've had so many trials. I've cross-examined so many expert witnesses. I've taken 2 exams for 2 certifications. I've submitted a writing sample for both. I've had 4 lawyers, 4 judges, and 4 prosecutors all vouch for my credentials. Then they go look through your case list, and they see, who didn't you put on there? And then they call them. And then you get voted on by a panel of people. So when you get somebody that's board certified, it means that they have the experience, and I've been doing this 26 years. It means they know what they're doing, basically. Why is that important? I'll tell you why that's important. All right, so Miss Alina Habba is in federal court with Judge Kaplan. And I've had experiences like this, not myself, but I watched the other side. I know you got to know the rules of evidence. You have to know the procedure. You have to know what's going on in a courtroom to try a fucking case. You just do. I make the rulings here, not the lawyers. So says Judge Kaplan. The last I heard, Ms. Habba, is I do not need announcements from counsel on what they intend to do. So Habba stands up during the direct. She doesn't have an objection. She just stands up and says, hey, they opened the door and I'll bring it up on cross-examination. And the judge looks at her and says, and I make the rulings here, not the lawyers. And then he told her fucking to sit down. When a judge tells you to sit down, that means you're doing something wrong and you're offending the court. You don't want to be in that position ever. Habba began in the afternoon of cross-examination suddenly confronting Carol with her deposition. So you can do that. So you take the deposition and you say, do you recall testifying in this case? And if they say yes, and then you say, do you remember testifying about X, Y, and Z? No. Would it refresh your recollection if I showed you the transcript? That kind of thing. And the judge tells her, I need a transcript to be able to work with this. And she says, Your Honor, it's on the screen. And the judge says, now look, Miss Habba, we're going to do it my way in this courtroom. And that's all there is to it. So the judge wanted a hard copy, and she didn't have a hard copy for him. Now you give me the page and line number you want me to focus on without reading it, and then I'll look at it. That's what the judge said. This is so funny. And then I'll see if there's an objection or not, and then we'll see where we go from there. When a judge is talking to you like that, it's demeaning. And it's demeaning because the judge thinks you don't know what the fuck you're doing. Habba starts her cross-examination. Elaine's is a popular restaurant, isn't it? It's not only popular, it's incredibly hard to get into. And the judge interrupts her. In a restaurant, who gives a shit? Miss Habba, the judge interrupted, it hasn't existed for years, if I'm not mistaken. Elaine's closed in 2011. And she says, correct, Your Honor. We're talking about the 1990s and 80s. But the judge reminded Habba that she can't talk about the actual offense. And they had already agreed that she can't get into that prior subject matter. She'd been talking about it in the present tense. And so this is how micromanaging the judge is, because the judge is not putting up with any shit. And we're talking about how hard it is to get into. And the judge said, well, that's probably because it's closed. On cross-examination, Carol was asked by Habba to explain the title of her book, Female Difficulties, Sorority Sisters, Rodeo Queens, Frigid Women, Smut Stars, and Other Modern Girls. That's the name of her book. Now, Habba asked, when I originally asked you what this book was about, how did you describe it? And then there was an objection. And what's the objection? I don't know what she's talking about. And the judge says, neither do I. So, I mean, she's going into directions and things, number one, that the judge told her she can't go into. And number two, that is kind of incoherent. And then she goes, this is a classic. Do you recall this, Habba is questioning Carol. She's doing such a bad job of cross-examination. Do you recall this tweet dated June 21, 2019, she asked? Can we please pull it up? So she basically gets this tweet, and has this tweet, and she's talking to E.G. and Carol. Do you remember a tweet from 2019? That's essentially what she's saying. And then she starts reading from the tweet. And the tweet says, do you recall this tweet dated June 21, 2019, saying, you're a pathetic, ugly old hag? Whatever the tweet said. But then the judge steps in and says, what exhibit are we talking about? Oh, it's not an exhibit. I'm trying to get into evidence. And the judge tells her, you can't read from a document that's not in evidence. In other words, the jury can only hear and see evidence that's in evidence. If it's not in evidence, they can't hear or see it. Period. And she, but Judge, I'm trying to get it into evidence. The judge says, okay, let's take a break right here. We're going to take a break, and during which you should refresh your memory about how it is you get a document into evidence. She's getting her ass handed to her by this judge over and over again. Do you remember Elaine from the Johnny Depp trial when Camille kept objecting? And she's like, I'm trying, Judge. She couldn't get it in. When you're not a trial lawyer and you don't know the rules of evidence, you don't know what you're supposed to do and how you do it, it's very frustrating because all of a sudden you don't know what the fuck you're doing. And she doesn't know what the hell she's doing. So after the break, she was reprimanded by referring to the contents of her book. I'm sorry. We're just not going into the contents of the document. So the judge tells her, you can't do that. They take a break, go look at the fucking rules of evidence, see what you're supposed to do, and then they come back. And what does she do? The exact same thing. She goes, I'm not, Judge. Well, you just did. Your last two questions were precisely that. I recommend you show it to her and ask her if she recognizes it. And if she does, then you ask her what it is. And then she will tell you what kind of document it is, and we'll go from there. In other words, lay the foundation for the document. Here's how you do it. You say, Miss Carol, do you recall this document? Yes. What is it? That's my book. And did you write it? Yes. When did you write it? In 2019. Okay, and would you agree this is a fair and accurate representation of your book from 2019? Yes. Your Honor, we move to admit Exhibit D. Exhibit D is admitted. Now you can ask her questions about the book. It's that fucking simple. The judge tells her, he fucking tells her, like, line by line how to do this. It should be pre-marked, so you put a sticker on it with an exhibit number. And why don't you do it the normal way? Get it ready overnight and do it appropriately. When you're admonished like this over and over again, I guarantee you, look at this. You watch what happens after this trial if you ever hear from Alina Habba again on Trump's team. I guarantee you she will not be there. So, and during a sidebar, there was a conversation between lawyers and the judge outside the earshot. So when you do a sidebar, that's a situation where, you have an objection that you need to kind of flesh out, generally speaking, and you don't want the judge, and you don't want speaking objections, because if you object, you say, objection, hearsay, just one word. But if you have a more argument, about why you're making the objection, you do a sidebar. And so the jury doesn't hear all the extraneous things that they're not supposed to hear. Kaplan told Habba that she was not to ask questions about the believability of Trump's sexual assault on Carol, because that ship has sailed, because that's something that was already decided by another jury. But after the sidebar, she proceeded to ask Carol precisely that, about the believability of the attack. And then the judge looks at her and says, "The answer is stricken. The jury will disregard it. I ruled on that sidebar, and you just ignored my ruling." She's going to run very close to getting sanctioned by this judge. She goes on to ask questions, so like there's direct examination and then there's cross. When you are cross-examining, you're confined to the direct, and especially when you're on recross. And it's to narrow down what the issues are. But she kept going outside the areas, and the judge kept admonishing her, and she just doesn't know what she's doing. This just kills me, because you have a self-proclaimed billionaire, and he's got the lowest rent district lawyer on the planet representing him in this. But I find it, he had the Kasowitz firm at the beginning of all the litigation. Remember, he started with a whole bunch of litigation during his presidency, and then now he's with Alina Habba. So you go from the Kasowitz firm, which is a very high-priced, large law firm with very experienced trial lawyers who know how to get a documented evidence, to Alina Habba, who's got this boutique law firm handling everything from personal injury to divorces to lease agreements. I don't know. So let's kind of go into this. One of the things, and I might come off as a little bombastic, and I don't mean to, but I like to have fun with this, and you guys know my humor a little bit. But one of the absolute best qualities of a trial lawyer, of a good trial lawyer, is humility. You got to know where the dog shit is, so you don't step in it, and you can't let your own hubris, you can't let your arrogance blind you from where you're going. So let's just kind of listen to what she has to say about herself in this little interview. It's from the PBD podcast.
It's so demeaning to the profession, but here, play this clip.
Say what you will about Trump, alpha man.
Right.
You would suspect he picks an alpha guy, but he picks a feminine, smart, capable woman.
Right.
How much of you being an attractive, smart woman do you think played into a role in this?
To him or in the public? Because I can tell you it's been a double.
Wait, did she just say to him? That's a Freudian slip. That, I guarantee you, she's thinking that. One of the big tells was when they were in Mar-a-Lago, or not Mar-a-Lago, but they were in Florida for the document case. And one of the statements she said to the press in that setting, right outside the courthouse, "It may look bad now, but wait till we get to the depositions of the witnesses involved." There are no depositions in federal court, in federal criminal court. There are in Florida, in state court, they have depositions, but they don't in federal criminal court. And she has no clue as to what she's saying.
To him or in the public? Because I can tell you it's been a double-edged sword.
Yeah, both.
It's been something I have had to deal with in the positive and in the negative. I don't think I would be on TV or sitting here if I didn't look the way I look. I think I caught it.
Really? First of all, you're fine looking. You're not great looking. I mean, you are who you are, whatever. But you don't think that the lawyer representing Trump would be on fucking TV? Of course you would.
I caught attention. Mm-hmm. I'm very honest about that, and I don't mind. I'm not a feminist. Mm-hmm. Okay, I believe in strong women, but I want my door opened. I am very much an old school. My parents are Middle Eastern, old school woman. Mm-hmm. I when I'm at home, I cook. I have a husband. I respect. I know how to turn it off. But do I not think that if I'll tell you something. Somebody said to me, "Alina, would you rather be smart or pretty?" And I said, "Oh, easy. Pretty."
Why is that? Why would you rather be pretty than smart?
I can fake being smart. But
I meet him all the time.
Well, you know what? According to Judge Kaplan, she's not doing a good job of faking being smart, knowing the rules of evidence, and being a good trial lawyer.
Alina.
I mean, that's the honest truth. And it's going to make me, I'm sure there'll be some Washington Post article about it tomorrow, Daily Beast, my favorite. But listen, like, you have to be honest. It doesn't hurt to be good looking in this world, in the PR world, on TV.
Yeah, I'm not going to play any more of that. I mean, it doesn't hurt to be good looking, clearly. But it does hurt to be stupid, and to be incompetent and to be over your head in a federal trial where you're getting your ass handed to you by nobody other than the judge. And normally, the judge stays out of that kind of stuff. Normally a judge just lets you try your case. But when you don't know what the hell you're doing, the judge steps in, and it is what it is. Just want to put a shout out and a thank you to our sponsor, Step One. Step One is high performance underwear, and it doesn't matter what you're doing. On Friday of next week, I'll be jumping out of an airplane. Guess what I'll have on me? I will be having my Step Ones on. It'll be the 4th time, but the first time I'll be wearing Step Ones. And guess what that gives me? Confidence. Confidence that I'm not going to chafe because of the Lycra panel. Confidence because it's made from a viscose material derived from organic bamboo, which doesn't make you sweat. So as I'm jumping out of an airplane, as I'm getting on the airplane and I'm feeling this and that, I won't even know I got my Step Ones on because it'll take care of everything. My goods will be all nestled in its little package. You order some right now. As you go to the checkout, put Bruce Rivers in the promo code and you will get 25% off. That's a deal only available to those who are watching this, and put Bruce Rivers in the promo code. And you get them, take them home, try them on, put them on, and guess what? You got 30 days. If you don't like them, you can return them. Step one, get some. And you would think that overnight, Ms. Habba would think about what's going on and adjust. Because one of the things you have to do as a trial lawyer we adopt the Army's model, adapt and overcome. If you're doing something wrong, adapt so you can overcome it. But apparently, she didn't get the memo because when she's questioning E.G. and Carol about how much she makes and going on, the judge looks at her and says, "Come on, Ms. Habba, this is evidence 101. So she doesn't know the rules of evidence, because she's so pretty. She's just asking the same types of questions over and over again, and the judge keeps cutting her off and saying, you're repetitious. So, and then earlier Trump is, tweeting, or not tweeting, he doesn't tweet anymore, but he, 22 times during jury selection, he posts something. And I know I'm going to get a lot of people saying, oh, you're so biased, the judge is biased, Yeah, the judge is biased. What's he biased? He's biased about people who know the fucking rules. Look, man, it is not easy being in federal court. It isn't like state court. State court, they deal with so many more cases, and you get a lot more leeway, if you screw up a little bit here or there. Federal court isn't like that. They expect the highest level of lawyering possible. And she is not up to the task. I just think if you look at where he started with the Kasowitz firm to now where he's at with Alina, one of the things I think is probably his strategy, aside from the fact that he probably couldn't get anybody else to take his fucking case. And, Tacopina just booted, because he's not getting paid, probably. We don't know exactly why he left. We'll find out one of these days. But you go from a really high-quality firm to somebody who doesn't know what they're doing. When this trial's over with, you will not see her again. I guarantee it. So where do we go from here? So this is just a trial about damages. So now there's an expert on saying this is how she's been affected, and this is what I think. And I think she's claiming that it would cost repairing her reputation would cost up to $12 million. Now, she was a reporter for Elle magazine. She was not some nobody. But then you've got punies on those. That's just compensatory 12. My guess is that they're going to come in somewhere between $25 and $50 million. And this is all because Trump was flapping his gums. Do you realize that, when she came out with this book, and she's got to be a counterpuncher, right? That's what he says. I'm a counterpuncher. And so she came out, and then he said all this crap about her and continues to do it. And every time he furthers these statements about her, he opens himself up to more litigation. He'll probably completely ignore the judgment, come collect it if you can, which will be difficult to do against Trump because he's a tricky guy. And, but he's just opening himself up, I bet you any money after this trial's done, 3 things will happen. You'll get a very large judgment in favor of E. Jean Carroll, somewhere between $25 and $50 million. You will get you won't see Alina Habba again because I think she's done. If you look at the coldness between the two of them, she's just getting her ass handed to her left and right. And then you're also going to see, I'll bet you any money, E. Jean Carroll sues him again for more statements that he's made about her. And it's just going to be this, it's sort of like a guy who keeps driving without his license, Okay, just figure it out. Get your license. And, he's his own worst enemy. So, but if she gets this big judgment, then what happens? Well, she can collect on the judgment unless he posts a bond for an appeal. But if he posts the bond for appeal and he loses the appeal, that money's there for her. It's like an insurance policy basically, and then they'll go after him for that amount. So, and he can't discharge that. So that's just been our little update on what's going on in the E. Jean Carroll case and Alina Habba, one of the most ineffective lawyers I've ever seen. I just can't even believe that she's in charge of this litigation. Guess is that Trump wanted the juxtaposition. He wanted that 80-year-old woman on one side and an attractive woman on his side. And when you see her out there, it is just, she's so arrogant and has so much hubris, and she's covering up her incompetence. But in court, you can't do that. So thank you for watching. We'll see you next time here on Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I'm Bruce Rivers, your board-certified criminal defense lawyer, meaning I've tried a lot of cases, and I got a murder trial coming up here very soon. And we'll see you next time here on Criminal Lawyer Reacts. Make sure you subscribe, follow us on Instagram, follow us on Twitter, sign up our Patreon, and we'll see you next time here on Criminal Lawyer Reacts.
Bruce Rivers just broke down your case. He know all the charges that you about to face. You ain't coming home till 2058. That self-snitching gon' get you put away. Bruce Rivers just broke down your case. He know all the charges that you about to face. You ain't coming home till 2058. That self-snitching gon' get you put away.
23-hour lockdown, please, is that my God?